Pastor Dr. Reba. I am the therapist, the relationship coach. Listen, welcome to my thank you for coming on my YouTube channel. Listen, I'm new to YouTube. Please subscribe and share my videos. I'd appreciate that. I really do appreciate all that you do for me. I really do. All right. So today I'm going to be talking about my new book, the the divine. The Divine Matchmaker, God's Perfect Pairing, the Biblical Principles for Finding Your Life Partner. My book is available on Amazon. So it's available for you to get, and it's a relationship book. I've also written this book, several books. If you're married, this is called the Covenant Connection, Your Best Marriage Meal. I wrote this book in 2011, and God had gave me, a word on connection. I'm married and have been married and been divorced previously as a disclosure, and I thought that I could never write a book. I thought if you had to be perfect in order to write a book on marriage and relationships, and you had to master it. But I've learned that through tests and trials in marriages and relationships, and then these college degrees on this wall, they kind of help solidify my experience as a relationship coach. All right. I also wrote this book. I think last year I wrote this book, The Broken Covenant. This book is a marriage book, but it's God's plan to restore marriage. I am a pastor, a licensed pastoral counselor, and a therapist, addiction and with extensive backgrounds in marriage and family therapy. And so I wrote this book to help couples who have experienced infidelity, sexless marriages, addiction, infidelity, divorce, social media romances. This book helps you to, it's called, let's see if I can see it, there we go, maybe. The Broken Covenant, all right? God's plan to restore your marriage. And so I think it's a cute book that we did. So, okay, this book will help you. Okay, there we go. This book will help you, help you restore your marriage if it has experienced, some covenant breakings. And so my new book, I gotta get, pray for me. Yeah, right. All right, that one right there. Right, the Divine Matchmaker, God's Perfect Pairing. Listen, I believe that there's a God. The Bible says, "Whoever God has put together, let no man separate." But I think it's important to understand: did God put you together? However, in the book I talk about, it doesn't matter really if God puts you two together or not. Here's where we are. God is a God of covenant of marriage, and so it doesn't matter if it's if it's two sinners together, two faith believing people together. It really doesn't matter. God is a God of covenant of marriage. God created the institution of marriage. So the institution of marriage God created for covenant. So when we think about that, let me go over here. Yeah. When we think about that, why did God create marriage? He created marriage. He told Adam, "It's not good for man to be alone. I make him a helpmeet." And so God's plan for marriage was to make someone that was compatible with him, that could help him. Both of them were put together to rule and to govern the earth. And so that was God's original plan. I really want to talk about God's original plan. In the book, I talk about Adam and Eve, and I just give you a precursor of the book. I talk about that God was the divine matchmaker for these two couples. Listen, God made Eve from the rib of Adam, right? And you would think that if God was the great divine matchmaker, that they would not have any problems. But unfortunately, they had issues in which Eve disobeyed God, and she influenced her husband to follow suit. And so, even though God is the divine matchmaker, it does not mean in relationships or marriages that you won't encounter difficulties. And their issue, and I talk about, is communication. One of the problems I found in couples that are dating is communication. And I talk about this in the book, that if you didn't come from the same background or have the same cultural experiences, appropriate or good communication, effective communication can be challenging because you both didn't come from the same background. So it's important to understand that it makes a difference in your background experience, okay? I talk about the family of origin, the background that you were raised in. I'm just going to give you a little bit about the book. The background, meaning that your family makeup, your family of origin is your background. It is the background in which the people, your caretakers or your parents or Big Mama them or Nana them, they raised you. So you've developed some learned behaviors from those people who parented you, who raised you. And we carry those, whether positive or negative, we carry those childhood experiences into our adult lives. So it's important to understand that who you are is a byproduct of your environment. However, as an adult, if we'd had unhealthy exposure to environments that were dysfunctional or toxic, by people who weren't healthy, and when I say dysfunctional and toxic, and I want to not label, but I want to talk about the behavior. Behavior is dysfunctional and toxic because everything God created was good. The people are good. The behaviors and the attitudes and how they responded was inappropriate and dysfunctional and not healthy. You're either functional or dysfunctional, right? You're either good or bad, but everything God created was good, right? And so when we talk about that, I wanted to talk about that's how you become the person that you are. It's from your family, those people that raised you, all right? Uh, and those people, and those people who raised you, you learn something from them, whether good or bad, all right? You learn something from those people, all right? Let's see, all right, I'm gonna turn this down so it's important to understand that you learn something from them, good or bad. There we go. Thank you. Whether good or bad, right? And that's who you made up to be. So as a relationship coach and as a therapist and as a pastoral counselor, the divine matchmaker, oftentimes we hear, and I hear this, people, I'm waiting on my kingdom spouse, I'm waiting on my Boaz, and I'm waiting on my Isaac, and all of this. But I think I'm waiting on the bishop, I'm waiting on the apostle, I'm waiting on the man of God to come or the woman of God to come. Well, when they come, they can come with unresolved issues and baggage, emotional baggage from the previous relationship that they had. Even though God is the divine matchmaker, it does not mean that the person who you're with doesn't mean that that person doesn't have issues. Doesn't mean that person doesn't have problems, right? It just means that God put you together for the purposes and of whatever His purpose is. And I think it's important to find out what His divine purpose is for your marriage, because marriages have purposes, right? God just doesn't do things. The Bible says He made Adam a helpmeet. So and the Bible says a man that findeth a wife find a good thing and find his favor with the Lord. And unless you have a wife, you have not found favor. And I know that's really like, what does she mean? It means the Bible says a man that finds a wife find his favor with the Lord. So God is one who's a proponent of marriage and the proponent of relationships. So with the divine matchmaker, God's perfect pairing, God can put two people together that and He does. The Bible says, "Whosoever God has joined together, let no man separate." As a recap, even if it's a sinful marriage, two people, two sinners, God is the God of covenant of marriage between a man and a woman. God is the God of covenant. So we want to talk about that. God is the God of covenant. So in the book, I talk about that. I talk about the divine matchmaker. I talk about that. And we'll just go over a little bit of these notes that I have here, right? Oftentimes, understand this, that it's important for me to write this book because over 50% of Christian marriages are ending in divorce. Also, I'm really a proponent of research. I think research substantiates any, that's a scientific brain of mine, so substantiates any claim that I have to what I'm dealing with. Over 50 to 60% of marriages are ending in divorce because relationships and marriages take work, and you have to work at the marriage and the relationship, and the relationship is only as healthy as the two people that are in the relationship, and both people should be trying to be healthy individuals without name calling, without belittling, without begrudging, and without being resentful and malice and mean and angry. As a Christian, we're talking about Christian marriages here. It's important that the marriage was to represent Christ and the church. So our marriages are to look like Jesus. Our marriages are to look like that God so loved the world, He gave His Son. Our marriages are to be replicas of Christ and the church. That means they should be loving and they should be kind, right? So I think when we understand that, but I understand that. So the issue with the divine matchmaker, God's perfect pairing, biblical principles for finding your life partner is understanding that your life partners will come into your life with perhaps unresolved issues, mommy issues, daddy issues, abandonment issues, rejection issues, trust issues, mistrust issues, unforgiveness, heartbreak, heartache, and that if they haven't done the work, I, to be healed. And at the end of the book, I do a compatibility assessment, and it's a relationship questionnaire so that you can have answer these questions. I put in my book things that you can ask your potential partner or dating partner, things that you would probably dare not ask, right? But when you can, so you can blame me, just blame me in the book. Say she said it, I said it, right? So things you might be uncomfortable with asking, I ask, and we'll talk about that in the book, right? I ask those questions because you want people to get an AIDS test. I mean, people date people, they marry people, and unfortunately, you find out they're HIV positive. Is that what, or you sleep with people and you don't know if they have chlamydia or they have any STD? Excuse me. And so you marry these people. So these are, you don't do a background check. Have they have they paid their taxes, or do they owe the IRS? These are questions that we ask. Are they paying child support? Are they paying spousal support? How much is it? Am I going to have to contribute? How, and does it enough to pay for our household expenses? These are questions that are asked that are asked in the relationship. That are asked in the relationship compatibility assessment at the end of the book. So, Divine Matchmaker talks about Adam and Eve. It talks about understanding how to improve in your communication patterns, how to develop. They had a problem with really. It was not that she. Because what the enemy comes to do is he doubted. He asked her, "Did God really say?" No, God lied, and so she didn't she disobeyed God and really just didn't believe what God said, because God said if you can eat food. And here's the issue: they could have had the whole garden. They had access to everything, and we have access to everything. But this one tree, one thing, God said, don't touch it, don't eat it, don't even look at it. But the one thing that they couldn't have, their flesh wanted, because the enemy tricked Eve into believing a lie of the enemy. And so if God says don't touch the unforbidden fruit, don't commit adultery, don't fornicate, when you do that, there are consequences for disobeying God. So as a result of Adam and Eve's consequences for disobeying God, we will have those same consequences, because rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft. So it's important to learn how to become emotionally self-regulate and manage reactions in order to be obedient to the word and to the will of God for our lives. So it's important to understand that, right? I just wanted to make sure we talk about that, okay? Also, I talk about growing up in the different households. In chapter 1 of Divine Matchmaker, I talked about your upbringing. You cannot separate your upbringing from who you are. It's a byproduct of who you are. So therefore, proper adjustments in your attitude and your behavior and your perception, your worldview is necessary to ensure that you are working on becoming the best version of yourself and becoming the best partner for yourself, which will require you to make some adjustments and some compromises and some negotiations, okay? All right, so understand that when you decide to date and marry, individuals need to take into account various factors such as past relationships. You want to ask, how many people have you dated, the hurts of those relationships, betrayal, cultural backgrounds, personalities, ethnicity, expectations. What are you expecting from me in this relationship? And it's being honest by saying, this is what I'm expecting. I think it's important to be upfront. If these are I'm expecting you to pay my rent. I'm expecting you to buy me some shoes. I'm expecting you to open up my car door. I'm expecting you to treat me like the queen that I am. And I'm going to treat you like the king that you are. I think expressing and being honest about those expectations are very relevant and to making sure that people know what you're expecting from them. Yes, I'm expecting you to pay my mortgage. I'm expecting you to pay the bills. I'm expecting you to be accountable. I'm expecting you to be on time. I'm expecting you to cook. Or I'm expecting you to help with household chores. Whatever your expectations are on dating and leading up to marriage, that should be communicated up front so that no one can say, I didn't know. You knew because I told you so. I expect you to be faithful and committed in a monogamous relationship. I don't expect you to go outside and break covenant. I expect you to be a father to your children. I expect you to be a man of God, a man of value, a man of integrity, a man of your word. I expect these things of you. And I'm willing to help you to become the man and the woman of God that you need to be, right? Because we're a team, right? All right, so I talk about that. So it's important to understand that communications is important, and I talk about that in chapter 1, in the Divine Matchmaker. Okay. So I talk about. Let's see what else we talk about in here in chapter 1. Understanding your partner's, your family's background. It's important to understand the divorces that have taken place. Were they a single family household? How many children out of wedlock? Any health issues, medical issues, diabetes, high blood pressure, mental health disorders, schizophrenic addictions, because all of those are genetic factors that can affect your adult relationship. And so these are questions that you can ask and to become familiar with. You just want to be, I think information arms you and empowers you to make better mate selections when you're dating. Okay. I talk about 5 ways to get to know yourself. It's important to understand, to get to know not only yourself, but when you find out what God's purpose is for your life. When you know God's purpose, then you can find yourself, right? Because you know what God has assigned you to do. And I talked about this. Your gifts, and your talents and abilities are within you. Anything God wants to do in you, it's already in you. You already have. He always given it to you. You just need Him you need to discover it, and for the Holy Spirit to show you what it is that God wants you to do, right? And when you understand that, then you understand that God is in control. All right. All right, and so it's getting to know yourself, spending time alone. A lot of people don't want to spend time alone because being alone means I have to deal with my own issues and my own thoughts in my own mind, right? So that's important to get to know yourself and know your thoughts. Get to know you spiritually. Are you a spiritual person? Do you meditate? Do you jog? What do you do? What do you do to make you become the best version of you? Get to know your family history, their family history as well. So it's important to understand that. And this is all in chapter 1. Chapter 1 talks about finding the right partner. There are a few things you should consider that can promote to leading a long and lasting relationship that can that can result in a marriage. Dating can promote with things you need to be aware of. I mean, dating can promote sexual promiscuity. It's important to have safe markers in place or safeguards in place in order to prevent you from fornicating and sinning, because sexual sins can very well obscure your objectivity on, is this the spouse? You don't even know if you like the person, but you like the way they make you feel sexually, not necessarily the way they make you feel as a person. Do they excite you? Do they exuberate you? Do they make you want to live? Do they make you want to love? Do they make you want to laugh? Do they make you want to be a better person? Do they make you want to chime in and be the best teammate you can be for this relationship? Are they on board with your visions, and are you on board with theirs? I think it's important to have those discussions. So it's important to be mindful when dating. Dating confuses physical attraction with genuine connection when you're dating. I mean, sexual encounters can confuse, and physical attractions can confuse a real divine connection. Do I like you as a person? Do you make me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, right? So it's important to understand that, right? Let me see. I gotta get that. All right. Dating also promotes an appetite for variety and change, which can create a desire for a partner. It's important to date one partner at a time to get to know that partner, and then in the relationship, and be honest with. Don't try to hang on to somebody and hold on to them. It's important to be honest with them. All right, and let them know. This is not working. We're gonna need to move on. Okay? All right. So that's important. I wonder if I can get this on. Yeah. I don't know if that's too loud or not. All right, and so it's important to understand that. All right. And so when I talk about that, also relationship stages. Relationships has various stages. I talk about this in the book. In the book, I talk about the stages of relationships. There's several stages. One is initial attraction, infatuation stage, which draws you together, your appearance, personality, and shared interests, followed by the exploration stage. I want to get to know you. Also, in the first stage, I talk about the different stages and helping you to process that there are stages in developing a relationship with someone that you want to be with, right? And so I talk about the relationship stages. What people want in a relationship is somebody to be honest and trustworthy. It's so important to be authentic and to be honest in your relationship with somebody. About if you've had whatever it is, it's really important to just be honest and not mislead and be cruel and be mean to people, but be upfront and be honest and upfront with those people. I talk about the processes of forming. And just a recap of the book. I talk about the process of forming a strong foundation for a life partner, and I gave you some examples on how to do that. Friendship and honesty and being thoughtful and respectful, being faithful. I talk about the importance of ambition and being on the same page and having improving your communication stages and problem solving and decision makings and how to look at how you process those. I think it's important to understand how do you process those. That's important. All right. I talk about taking care of your mental health, how important it is to self care, taking care of your emotional, your mental health, your physical health. Um, and self care is so important because as a man think it's so easy, but if you're not taking care of you, you can't take care of your partner or your spouse. So self care is really important, strengthening your relationship, improving your health. I talk about that in this is the first chapter. It's wonderful, right? Exploring the ideals and principles that can lead to greater self awareness and personal development. I give you examples on how to the relationship is only as healthy as you are, but I give you examples on how to create more self awareness and self awareness about you and personal developments to help you become not only you're looking for a better good partner and a life partner, but you want to become a good partner so you can have a life partner, right? So it's important for you to be the best partner you can be, right? So I talk about that. And I talk about the story of what Adam and Eve teaches us, and I do go back to that because God said to me, the original plan of God for dating. I heard people say, "I don't believe in dating." I believe people should. I believe people should get to know people. I don't believe it should be. You should be in a 5 and a 10 year dating relationship and having sex. I don't believe it takes. No, I just believe you can have a dating relationship, go out to eat, get to know one another, be friends, but that does not include sin. All right. Yeah, just getting to know one another and being friends. Okay. I think that this is the relationship code. Look, subscribe, and share, please. All right. To my channel. All right. All right. Dr. Reba, therapist. All right. Second chapter is dating advice for men. I tell men entering the world of dating can have a mixed emotions of ranging from excitement to feeling overwhelmed, right? And it is. It's exciting to find someone that looks good. She's exciting. She's challenging. She's that girl, right? Yeah, she's that girl, right? And he's that guy, all right? And dating is a journey that can lead to a wonderful experience. And I give you some examples. And I talk about key being upfront. It's important to just be upfront about your situations, steer clear of expectations, and avoiding potential misunderstandings down the line. So being upfront and being honest is helpful and making sure there's no misunderstanding. What are you expecting? Are you expecting her to cook? Are you expecting her to clean? Are you expecting her? Because you have to understand she's come from a different background. This is the men's portion I'm speaking of. So we don't know what she has experienced. Also, you want to get my book, Etiquette for Girls and Young Ladies, because it does provide etiquette to help. If I went to a charm school, I'm grateful my mother sent me to a charm school, but some ladies have not experienced that. If they come from foster care or they've not had parents to raise them, and having a stable life, they missed out on some things. Maybe they missed out on putting their tampons and wrapping them up. Maybe they missed out on having proper etiquette eating and how to have personal hygiene. Maybe they missed out on these things. It really depends on that's why it's so important to understand the background of a woman or a man, to understand what they were exposed and were they exposed to foster care. If they were in foster care, were they sexually exposed to a sexual abuse? All right. I also talk about this in the book. I talk about the different kind of men I talk about in the book. All right. The dating men. I talk about the spiritual guy. I give an example for that guy if you want to be that guy. I talk about the intellectual guy, the powerful man. I talk about the charismatic guy, the one who just woos her heart with his suave kind of accent and behaviors, right? The masterful fellow, the educated guy, the broke fellow. I talk about that guy who doesn't have a job. I talk about the fascinating fellow. He is just so overwhelming with his poetic and his ability to woo you, right? I talk about him. I also talk about the wounded boy. Every man has a inner child that is wounded. I talk about this in the book and helping you to understand the wounded boy on the inside. I talk about the cheater. I talk about how where he comes from. Why is he cheating? What is that really about? I talk about the cheater. I talk about the sentimental man, the guy he cries when you cry. I love that guy. He's he's able to be vulnerable without rendering his masculinity of knowing he's still a man, even though he can be sentimental. He can cry with you and weep with you and hug you and snot with you, and because he's your guy, right? I talk about the baller, right? I talk about the baller. That's that mind who achieves success and accumulates substantial wealth, and he embraces a luxurious, a sensuous and opulent way of life. That guy is a baller, right? But however, but with this guy, he has a lot of money. He's a lot of mucho dinero, okay? But he wants you to compromise your values, and he wants to be the guy who buy you the Birkin bag and the red bottom shoes, but he also wants you to let him swing a little and have a little side piece on the side, or you to be a beard or a covered. I talk about the baller in my book, right? I talk about there's a lot of men out there, and I try to give you examples of that kind of man so you can identify yourself of that you might want to be a different kind of man. And I also give it so the women can look at the different kind of men that are out there that you perhaps might have not have thought about them, or haven't categorized their behavior, or trying to see their behaviors. I talk about that in the book. All right. I also talk about this statistic, and it's important to understand. It's important to acknowledge and accept that there are different kind of men out there, and as they shape the dynamics of the relationship and contributes to its growth and understanding. It's important to approach relationship with empathy and understanding, because you don't know the background of the people that you're involved with. You just don't know that. So recognizing that both people, men and women, both bring emotional baggage, wounded inner child issues, and unresolved relationship. They could be divorced, they could have bitterness, they could have trust issues. So it's important to approach every relationship with empathy and understanding, all right? And to create a healthier and more fulfilling relationship for everyone involved by being open and being honest, all right? A recent study reveals, and I talk about this in the book, that 16% of men who have been officially documented as victims of sexual abuse by social service agencies. I talk about in the book of understanding that severity of the abuse actually leads to a non-survival of them. It's worth emphasizing that 1 in every 6 males has unfortunately been a victim of a sexual assault. So if you don't know those research, the person that you're with could have been in foster care, could have been sexually abused, could have been if a person has been in prison for length of time, there's very likely that he has encountered some kind of a sexual encounters with men, because if you you know, it's very normal. It doesn't mean that he's gay or bisexual. It just means that while he was in prison, he had sex with a man, or he allowed men to have sex with him, because of the environment that is conducive. And understand incarceration is an environment that is conducive to sexual male to male encounters. So understand that 16% of men are victims of sexual abuse and sexual molestation or abuse. And those men, unfortunately, some of them, if they have become and I talk about this. A statistic sheds light on the fact that these men can also become victims of such traumatic experiences. It's essential to create a safe and supportive environment where men can feel comfortable and sharing. It's by raising awareness about this issue we can work towards breaking the stigma and provide the necessary support for men that are survivors of sexual abuse, right? Because some of those men can be down low, gay, or or homosexual, or transgender. Because remember, you are a byproduct of your exposure. Therefore, counseling and understanding empathy for those men is important if you're dating, and asking those questions. And I do ask those questions in the compatibility and the assessment questionnaire, right? You get a chance to ask them, and you can blame me. Just blame me. You didn't think about it. Let's do this questionnaire. And so you get a chance to find out who she is and who he is. Okay, so I talk about that. I talk about the spiritual principles of how a man can build a spiritual relationship and closeness. I talk about abstaining from sex. Okay, don't put yourself in compromising situations that you want to. You don't need to test drive it. You can just, if you pray and the Holy Spirit will show you that she's your wife, you don't need to test drive it. You can trust the creator of it. It's good. You can trust God. He don't make a mistake. You don't need to test drive it. You don't need no samples. Okay, of the Jaja. You need no samples, okay? You can just trust the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that if he put you together, he knows what you want sexually. So, and if not, you can have some experience and you both can learn together. However, I talk about in the books not forcing anyone to do something in a sexual relationship that they're not willing to do. If a person's not willing to be a swinger, and Christians should not be swinging. Somebody called me and asked me, was there any research on Christian swingers? I said it shouldn't be. Christians should not be swinging and having sexual relationships and orgies with other people. That really violates the covenant of a relationship. And so, yeah, so they shouldn't be doing that, right? All right, so I talk about leadership qualities, leadership traits of how the man could be a man of God and the faith of man. I talk about, let's go into chapter 3. I talk about living with a purpose-filled life. Women, I talk about this of helping you in the divine matchmaker as you're in the process of becoming a wifey material. It's important to understand that the Bible said the older women should teach the young. I'm grateful that I had older women in my life who helped me to become the woman of God that I am, the woman of integrity. I'm grateful for my exposure to Charm School and different other women that have helped me become the woman of God that I am, because my parents divorced at an early age and no one taught me some things that they should have taught me because my parents divorced and I came. So, so it's important so some woman in your life can really show you some things that can help you become a better woman. All right, so but it's important to listen to the women that are helping you. All right, I talk about helping you to be the healthiest woman you can be by taking care of yourself first. It's important to understand that. All right, and living with your purpose, finding your purpose as a woman of God. I give you an example of an extraordinary woman. That I give the example of a Proverbs 31 woman. I believe that we're extraordinary. We're life givers. God has blessed us to be women that we can bring forth life, and not only life. And I just believe we're life givers. Life for vision, a life for businesses, life for ministry, a life for relationships. Life. We're life givers, right? We are able to give life in everything that we do as women of God. All right, and I talk about being a good wife. All right, and the fourth chapter, principles of cultivating a healthy relationship. I give guidelines for problem solving principles and how to communicate effectively, how to process information, and how to reframe information to ensure that you've heard what your partner has said before you, because misunderstandings is a key thing in marriages. It's really just, you thought you heard what somebody said but they didn't mean that, right? So it's important to really understand that. Really, it's important to understand that. Effective communication involves actively listening and being here now. I talk about mindfulness of being present, cultivating a life and gratifying relationships, partners being emotionally present, being here now, right? And understanding that the relationship is only as healthy as you two are in it. So it's important to work on being the better partner so you can have the best relationship. I'm talking about the Divine Matchmaker, God's Perfect Pairing, my new book out on Amazon, right? Please like, subscribe, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. We talk about spending time together. It's important to be a man of your word, a woman of your word, in order to cultivate a healthy relationship. I give you examples on how positive changes can create a stronger bond, and being willing to make those changes and make them as a team. I talk about I talk about having a sex calendar when you're married, having a dating calendar. I'm a calendar person. I have to write stuff down and use my phone because when you get older, you forget things, right? So building a healthy connection through positive actions, how to negotiate and be willing to compromise, respect and listen to each other. How you have to negotiate, you have to compromise. No one can have it their own way, and being humble, all right. And I talk about dating etiquette. This is one I love. I talk about dating etiquette for Christians. It's important to understand etiquette. If you don't know, you just don't know, right? So I talk about this in the book of how to have conversational etiquette. What does that include? How to talk when it comes to etiquette, what to do at the dinner table, what to say, what not to say. Politics and religion should be left off the table. They are the most, can be problematic in a dating relationship, right? Because have them on another, have a time for that, right? But conversational etiquette, what does that look like in a dating experience? Dining etiquette, what does that look like? Do you pull the chair out for the young lady? How do you, when you're dating a man, if you go to have a drink, or you have a drink and you go to the restroom, I talk about have the waiter remove your drink to ensure that it's your date. You don't know this person. You don't want to get a date night drug and something. So I talk about that in the book, okay? I talk about that in dating etiquettes, all right? Uh, Upon arrival, what is appropriate? How to open the door? How do you want to be addressed when you're meeting somebody for the first time? Make sure you. I talk about how to a napkin, how that you don't wipe your mouth after you're eating. You pat. I talk about the proper dining etiquette, so putting the napkin over your lap. I talk about using the how to use dining utensils correctly in order to ensure that you have proper etiquette at dining. And these are things perhaps you weren't given these. No one trained you. My responsibility, I believe, as divine matchmaker, is to help you be a better partner and find a better partner and have a life partner. I talk about greeting etiquette, how to greet someone when you first meet them. What does that look like for you? I talk about not hugging when you first meet. I'm opposed to hugging. I think it's important to handshake and be gracious and kind. I don't think I need to kiss you or hug you when I meet you. I don't know you. You don't know the person. You don't know what they have. You don't know. So these are safeguards. I'm the relationship coach. Trust me. Look, trust these degrees. Trust the God in me. All right. Dating etiquette, followed by dating. Individuals can build a meaningful relationship with dating etiquette. What does that look like? 79. Dating etiquette. I talk about implementing the following. Be certain at times. One of the issues that people have is being late for the date. I talk about how to be on time, how to confirm the date prior to. I want to confirm that we're meeting at 6 p.m. at the restaurant. I've also encouraged the dating couples to meet at the restaurant. Do not have someone meet at your house because what if you don't want to see them again and now they know your address? I talk about these safeguards and I really do. I talk about these safeguards in the divine matchmaker perfect pair. I help you to become the best partner you can be so you can find the life partner, right? Because it takes you being a good partner so you can be a life partner and to find a life partner. I also talk about the warning signs of dating. I talk about yes, I talk about the warning signs of dating. Recognize indicating jealousies and possessiveness and violence. Listen, before, and this is men and women. Men unfortunately don't report abuse as much as women, but there are women that are controlling, that are violent, and so there are men that are violent. So I give you the warning signs on how to identify, and I do this from a very personal background. I had two cousins that I loved dearly, um, and they both were murdered by their husbands because they didn't identify the warning signs, and they were evident. And I gave one of them the warning signs, but they thought that I didn't love them and that I didn't want them to be happy. She said to me, "You don't want me to be happy." But it wasn't. I wanted her to be happy, but I wanted her to be safe. And she didn't listen to me, unfortunately. And I was the hero to the family because I told her what would happen. And unfortunately, what I told her would happen did happen. And she's no longer with us. And I'm saddened by that because I loved her so much. So I talk about the warning signs and how to be safe in dating and because there are stalkers out there. Everybody's not healthy. All right? And I know that most people, 50% of people meeting online. I've had very friends that have met online, be married for 20 years, and they divorced and they met online. That can be very expensive, and I get it. It's just having safeguards in place with meeting people online. Just having safeguards. We want to be safe. I want you to be happy, but I want you to be safe too. I talk about living etiquettes, right? Living etiquettes is a list of ideas that govern how individuals should behave to enjoy a healthy and a prosperous life. Living etiquette is how you live and enjoy your life and live your best life, right? All right, make a positive impact on your community. Seeking guidance from a mentor, a spiritual mentor, and a guidance. You can have these living etiquettes, all right? And in the back of the book, I talk about the questionnaire for dating singles to help you ask the questions you would dare not ask, but that your relationship coach, Dr. Reba, will ask. And to help you so you can blame me, but you're going to get the answers. Know the facts. Know the facts is how long have you ever been diagnosed with an STD? Have you ever had HIV? Have you ever had AIDS? What's your overall health? Do you smoke? How many times have you been married? Are you paying child support? Are you on a spousal support? How much money do we bring in? Is some of my money going towards to pay your children? Do you have enough money to pay for our children and your children? What am I going to contribute financially to your ex a wife, family history, the mother. What is your mother? What is the mental health conditions? Did they have hypertension? Did they have high blood pressure? We ask these questions in our questionnaire about family background, spiritual beliefs. I believe that the Bible says, "Be not unequally yoked." I believe that Baptist people should marry Baptist people. Speaking in tongue people should marry speaking in tongue people, because it could be controversial. I believe you should. Protestants should marry Protestants. Catholics should marry Catholics. I believe you should be religiously equally yoked. Be not unequally yoked. I just believe you should be equally yoked, right? Because they don't understand it. Your sexual preferences. I talk about this as sexual, traditional, oral, anal, fantasy, positional preference. I talk about this because if you're not willing to do those kinds of things, and folk have to know, not after I get married, I don't do that. I don't do that now. That's not something I'm willing to entertain. And someone should not push you into that. And when somebody's pushing you into having some sexual experiences that are different from yours, you need to look at where they're coming from with that. All right. What's that about? What's that about, really? All right. All right. You want to ask those questions, right? I talk about also, and this question: how many children do you have? Do you enjoy pets? Some people don't want to have pets. Some people are allergic to animals. We ask these questions. Your drug history. Have you ever did cocaine in the world before you know Jesus? Did you do any lines? Did you take $100 bill and roll it up? All right. What did you do? All right. Were you in them clubs? Were you a bartender? Was you a stripper? Were you a dancer? Were you a prostitute? Did you have a sugar daddy? I ask these questions because you want to know people's background. I know you say it's not necessary. Trust me. Know the facts. Right? Know the facts. All right. I talk about your drug history. Your music preference. Do you like rap? If you don't like rap, then you know you're going to marry somebody that's boop, 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 okay? Or do you like jazz? Or do you like opera? What is their music preference? You want to ask these questions so you know if you're compatible on your music preference. Do you enjoy having fun? What kind of fun do you enjoy? What's your activities? Do you like bowling, fishing, golfing? These are questions we ask on this compatibility questionnaire. What are your hobbies? Things that you'd like to be. Your assets. I talk about your money, how much money you make. Do you owe the IRS? You don't want to get married to someone and you file your taxes and now you don't have any tax refunds because the person you're married to owe the Internal Revenue Service. Okay, you want to ask these questions. I'm just saying. I'm your relationship coach. I'm fighting. I'm trying to help you. All right, I'm Dr. Reba trying to help you. All right, your budget. I talk about getting on a budget. I'm a person of budget. I don't believe you should spend more than you earn. I believe you got 20 pair of shoes. You don't need 20 more until you go donate 20 to a women's shelter so they can look good. All right. Your relationship credit compatibility. What are the things that make you happy? You need to know what makes you happy, so you need to know. So people need to know what makes you happy. What sets your heart on fire? What makes you happy? Some things that some things that you're not willing to compromise on. What are your things that you're not willing to compromise on, negotiate on? These are things you get a chance to ask in this questionnaire and dating app. Completing this questionnaire, you can gain a deeper understanding of the person you're interested in dating, and it serves as a valuable tool to gathering the necessary information for making decisions about dating or even marriage. This is a great book, not because I wrote it, but I'm a therapist, but I talk about trauma. I do. I talk about trauma, talk about how to be healed from trauma and the process of counseling, and it's important to understand that, right? It's important to understand that in relationship. Please subscribe to my channel. All right. I am Dr. Reba. I am the relationship coach. I'm available for private counseling. You can fly me out to your city. I'm a therapist. You can fly me out. You can send your car to come get me. I come to where you are with my assistant. All right, to help you process and work through marital issues. I'm available for conferences to speak at your church. I'm available to speak at your women's conference, at your conference. I'm a woman of prayer. I'm a woman of holiness. I'm a woman that believes in integrity. I'm a woman of going. All right. I'm Dr. Reba Haley, and thank you for watching my YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, and share, please.